After years of Nintendo Switch Pro or Super Nintendo Switch or new Nintendo Switch speculation, Nintendo has finally announced a Nintendo Switch OLED model. Put that speculation in your back pocket because it probably won't actually go anywhere, and it probably actually shouldn't go anywhere, but we'll get to that. The question is, should you buy a Nintendo Switch OLED? Probably not. But you though, you right there, you should probably buy one. It's complicated. Let's talk about it. For years, I've been beating the drum that Nintendo is inspired by and strives to be like Apple. And if we look at the branding, the feature set, even the design of the Nintendo Switch OLED, it should be becoming increasingly believable to anyone that hasn't subscribed to that idea, or anyone that hasn't subscribed to the channel, which you should do if you haven't done so already. It's free, unlike the Nintendo Switch OLED model, and certainly more free than anything Apple has ever done. The Switch OLED's most striking and obvious feature is fittingly its screen. It's OLED now. That means deeper blacks, which means better contrast and overall more accurate colors. That is part of what everyone was hoping for the most prominent rumor, because as far as we can tell, this is still a 720p OLED screen. Likely a cost and battery saving measure, the screen is, however, slightly larger, just like we thought, at 7 inches instead of the current flagship model 6.2 inches. This to me is a nice enough upgrade as far as the screen is concerned, but chances are, for most people, it shouldn't make you feel like you have to get one of these. You would literally only notice if you compared your current Switch model with this one side by side. That said, to touch on the Apple comparison, it would be a very Apple move if this upgrade was entirely tied to their supply chain. To get a bit more nerdy for anyone that doesn't know, there's a silicon shortage happening right now. It's the reason it's impossible to get a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series console, and I suspect it's the reason why the model we've heard rumors about for so long with the DLSS 4K upscaling isn't happening yet. Nothing about the OLED screen requires the power of newer silicon, and Nintendo likely has a bunch of extra chips from the current Switch that they ordered far in advance due to its crazy high sales momentum after Animal Crossing. My thinking is they probably had a surplus of OLED screens from the previously planned model prior to the shortage, but decided to repurpose these screens since the need for silicon and lack of new Switch model to help drive holiday excitement forced them to make do with what they have: current Switch silicon and OLED screens. I'm not here to tell you to wait for a Switch Pro or whatever, but just know that this probably isn't actually that rumored Switch model, and there probably is some accuracy to those initial rumors, more than people are giving them credit for. So don't buy this because you think it's the Switch Pro. Apart from that, the only console hardware specific features we got would be the changes to the kickstand, which is now more adjustable, wider, more robust. That, if you ask me, looks pretty Apple-like. Just saying. And the increase to the internal storage capacity from 32 gigabytes of flash storage to 64 gigabytes of flash storage, another Apple-like thing, which if there is a Switch Pro model or whatever down the line, I think you could bet your bottom dollar will be further expanded to 128 gigabytes to sweeten the pot even more in a year or so when that rolls around. In my opinion, all of that is all well and good, but the most exciting part may not require a Switch OLED purchase at all, at least in the long run, and that's the new Joy-Con, which looks sick. I'm surprised they took this long to make an official set of white Joy-Con, and if we're continuing with the speculation on how Switch Pro will further differentiate itself from the OLED model for the sake of posterity, they will almost definitely make one of those bundled Joy-Con options black like the dev kit Joy-Con, and more importantly to me, the brand new dock, which also looks pretty sleek. and has a built-in LAN port, something the current Switch models lack and have been plagued by for years. I suffer through you people with terrible internet using Wi-Fi all the time when playing Smash Ultimate almost daily. That said, the jury is out with the capabilities of this port and whether its download and upload speeds will be any better than the current compatible adapters or not. It doesn't necessarily have to be. Having a LAN port that you can plug in directly to wired internet will definitely improve the overall experience due to it being more consistent. So either way, having more people to not even have to preach to about LAN adapters is a good thing, and I hope the dock is made available as a separate purchase for this reason. This new LAN port does come at the expense of the third USB port, but to be honest, I much prefer having built-in LAN. In fact, my current dock already has that third USB slot filled with a LAN adapter, so not having the dongle middleman is a huge win in my opinion, rather than being a negative. To wrap up the Switch Pro stuff, I sort of alluded to it already, but I don't think this should be the mic drop industry insiders don't know what they're talking about moment it's shaping up to be. There's clearly fire to the smoke here, and Nintendo not only is on this whole Apple business model situation, but it's also worth noting that even without that influence, they have always conducted their business in this way for successful platforms where they release new models that address specific deficiencies in the design of models that have been on the market for a while. This makes it very easy for them to continue their forward momentum because that approach wins over people that were holding out because of a missing feature that's later addressed and people double dipping for whatever other reasons, like me with the LAN adapter. I think it'd be more foolish to assume anything other than Nintendo continuing to release a new hardware revision or new console model every year or every other year. Personally, I have a few reasons why I would want to pick up the Nintendo Switch OLED model. First of all, it would be useful for me as a Nintendo Switch content creator to be able to talk about the newest model possible. Also, at one point or another, my current Switch, which is an upgrade from my launch day Switch, apparently took some damage to a micro SD reader pin or two, which results in slower loading speeds for games installed to any of my micro SD cards. So currently, I have Smash installed to my internal storage and am running very low on that because of it. I've been wanting to get it fixed, but I'd be without a Switch for a while, which isn't great for a Nintendo Switch content creator, so I've been debating getting a second Switch anyway. This happening to be announced and all of its extra features, chance that the dock and Joy-Con won't be made available as separate purchases, and the bump to internal storage space to help make the problem I'm having now easier to deal with if I'm unlucky enough to break connector pins on the new model are all just the cherry on top. Plus, having an extra Switch can't be the worst thing in the world. That said, for most people, if they were to ask me if they should buy a Nintendo Switch OLED model, I'd say don't bother with this new model unless something is wrong with your current Switch or you're really into the new features and have the extra cash sitting around. But those are my thoughts on the Nintendo Switch OLED model. What do you think? Are you planning to buy one? Do you think that you'd rather hold out? Are you just okay with your current Switch? Let me know all of that and more in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you clicked the like button and shared it with a friend that is considering the Nintendo Switch OLED, wants to know all the nitty-gritty details, or just likes talking about Nintendo stuff. Most importantly, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for new videos like this every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, that's it for me. See you next week.